So, it's been, I think, 2 weeks since I did a recording, which is bad because I was so keen on doing this regularly. So, I'm going to do two today. But they're only going to be short, but two completely different topics. And it's really just about my thoughts. So, I have been looking, well, not recently to be honest. I have been looking at, how to do well with your channel, but this is just for my own benefit of looking back on the year, which is one of the reasons I'm doing this YouTube channel. So it's 1st of February now, and January has been one interesting month geopolitically. Of course, you had Trump getting inaugurated. That was very interesting. All those executive orders he's put into place. And it'll be very interesting if Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, and RFK Jr. get put in okay. I mean, but some of the questions in their hearings, in their confirmation hearings, these people are just bought. Some of these senators are just bought and paid for. Well, most of the senators are bought and paid for, which is the same as over here in the UK, particularly the Conservatives and particularly Keir Starmer. The Labour Party. I'm old Labour from a long, long time ago. Parties left me, and Keir Starmer, everybody hates him. But he, I mean, it says everything that he put forward. Peter Mandelson, often referred to as the Prince of Darkness over here. He is one horrible, evil person. A sidekick of Tony Blair. Another horrible person. And he was really looking forward to being the UK ambassador in the grand residence with the butler, grand dinners, etc. He's really into all that sort of stuff. And Trump refused him. Just for that, I'm not going to say anything against Trump. That was so good. Lovely. Yes. So, yeah, well, that would be good. The other thing was, TikTok and Rednote. I've never been on TikTok. They had all those dancing nurses during COVID and that, because, the hospitals were all empty. Martin worked in hospital, said they're all empty, there's nobody in them. So, he was a medical engineer. He had all the nurses and everybody coming in going, please, have you got anything for us to do? We're bored. Nothing happening. So, yeah, Rednote. That was amazing. So the TikTok people were pissed off with Biden banning TikTok because they wouldn't sell it to America. I mean, why should they? To an American company. So an American company does well in China, and then the Chinese would say, "Oh, you've got to sell it to a Chinese company." Yeah, I can just imagine the reaction to that. And so they said, "Well, where can we meet?" So, and sending in their details to the Chinese embassy and saying, we don't care. And so a load of them migrated to this Chinese kind of Instagram called TikTok, which was all in Chinese and Mandarin and Chinese writing and everything. But loads went over there, and it was fascinating. And the Chinese were going, who had all these foreigners? Why suddenly all these foreigners arrived, putting up videos, sort of greeting. They were greeting each other, and then when they realised what was happening, the Americans were calling themselves TikTok refugees. They said, "Oh, welcome here. What questions do you have about China?" And so they were asking them things, and they were absolutely gobsmacked, the Americans, about how cheap food was, how cheap healthcare was, how cheap cars were, how cheap apartments were to rent or to buy. and how little tax they paid. So they might seem to get paid a lot less than an American, but they have a lot. They don't have as many expenses at all. When I did economics, my teacher said really the only way you can compare countries is how many hours does the average worker have to work to buy XX, buy a flat, rent a normal flat, buy a entry level car, that kind of thing, buy a steak, buy basket full of vegetables, whatever. And that's how your purchasing power, that's how you do it. And that's, Americans had never been taught that. And they were crying. There was Americans crying, going, "Oh, it's so difficult here. I have 3 jobs. Everything's so expensive. We can't cope, and you only have to pay so much for medical care." Oh, yeah. And it was, like I said, never been on Instagram, never been on TikTok, but I got myself on Rednote, and it was so interesting. Really, really. I mean, I was in China in 2007, went on the Trans-Siberian Express, and then through Siberia a bit, and then down into Mongolia. So I was on the train all the way through. It was amazing, and that, it looked futuristic then. But then I'd lived in Japan in the mid-80s, so that was very futuristic in comparison to England, really. And so I'm going again. Just booked a flight to my daughter's getting married in Hawaii. God, that's so far away. So I booked this flight, going through Dublin, so I got to go through Dublin, so I do the immigration there, because doing immigration after a long flight is just, US immigration, they're so horrible. And they're quite nice in Dublin. And you're just hanging around anyway. So, yeah, go through Dublin, and then Martin does not like long, days of travel. So then we're stopping over in Las Vegas for a couple of days, and then on to Hawaii, Maui, for 6 days, and then into Japan, and then on to Shanghai, where we're going to be for 2 days. Shanghai is amazing. It's just amazing. The bunt, that maglev train to the airport that does like 350 kilometers an hour or something. I mean, I like the acceleration, but when it gets to that speed, you can't look outside. It makes me ill, and I don't get travel sickness. But God, Matt is looking forward to that. So, and then back to England again. So, and that was grand sum total of £1,500 something pounds. Not too bad for all that. It's amazing what you can do on Skyscanner. It was easier, to just put in all the places that you particularly wanted to go to, make it a mad multi-city trip, and it didn't seem to increase the cost anymore. So, brilliant. Skyscanner, really good. So anyway, that's bought. You don't need thingies. You don't need visas for China or Japan anymore. But you do need the ESTA for America. My old ESTA's still valid. Martin will have to get one. We'll have to get, senior medical insurance, because, America, it's so expensive if it includes America. Right, but they are the land of the free, and that's what was good about Rednote. They suddenly realised that they didn't know anything about what it's like in other countries to actually live. So that was really good. And then the Deepseek thing came out. They were big, $500 billion on AI, blah blah, all these billionaires in tech going on, and China just released Deepseek, just as good as GPT, and open source, free to the user. So, you know, what's going to happen to the business model then of all these investors? And they did it, apparently they did it in 6 months for the cost of 6 million. But then China has all these STEM graduates, you know, very good at maths and physics and things, you know. I mean, how, ah, you know, how does Trump think they can catch up with China? I mean, the supply chains there are just brilliant, and then they're building, you know, ports and railways in other countries to get their stuff, you know, to the people as easy as possible. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. The world is going to be a different place, in a different place by the end of this year, I think, and I've thought that right from the beginning. And of course, you know, Marco Rubio, the new Secretary of State, said, you know, can't beat. There's no way Ukraine can beat Russia, and it was ridiculous that the Americans and Europeans were saying this to the Ukrainians, and you know they shouldn't have said that, and because of course they're losing massive wars of attrition. They just, you know, the idea is that to cut back the military, not about territory, it's about, you know, depleting the military, and you know they're winning very much so. So I don't know, you know, Trump hasn't got any leverage at all. They're just, you know, there's hardly any, not many soldiers left in Ukraine, and you know, they say they're going to, you know, mobilise 18 to 25-year-olds, but they don't have many 18 to 25-year-olds, because 18 to 25 years ago, Ukraine was doing so badly, people weren't having children. So the problem with Ukraine, of course, is they didn't have somebody like Putin to tell their oligarchs where to get off, you know. So the oligarchs were running the place, massive money laundering, biolabs, totally corrupt to the highest degree. You know, Biden and his son, totally getting their own kickbacks from Ukraine, which is why they were so completely and utterly intent on pushing it forever. So anyway, there you go. So so many things. Romanian election cancelled for no good reason, because they weren't going to elect the person who would do what they're told. So, you know, brilliant. I love it. It's so interesting. I'm listening to so many geopolitical analysts. Really, really good. Alex Crane is very good, you know, on economics. Very good. And Michael Hudson, obviously, always very good. So, yeah. So I'm interested in that for the next year. We'll see how it all goes. I might do an update once a month or something on what's been happening. That's interesting. It all seems, you know, we couldn't go on the way we were. There needed to be a change, you know. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, there you are. Oh, nice red hat. Goes with my red top, which you can't really see. And there you go. Okay, bye-bye.